Thank you all for joining. We will get started here very shortly with the virtual session of Bike Summit for Rochester, Minnesota, hosted by We Bike Rochester and only made possible by the sponsors you see here on our screen, on your screens. These are folks who've all made commitments to support bicycling advocacy, education, and ridership in Rochester. So if you haven't visited some of these places, you haven't been there recently to dine, to buy product, services, whatever it might be, just know that these are the folks that really care about bicycling in the area and support you as someone who is interested in bicycling. And I think it's safe to make that assumption that you're joining this virtual session because you're interested in hearing more about bicycling in Rochester.
Hello and welcome, everybody. My name's Rochelle Sugiyama. I am this year's president of We Bike Rochester. We're going to go ahead and get things started right at noon. We've got a really exciting panel discussion for you guys. We want to be able to squeeze everything into that, as much discussion as we can into that 1 hour. So I'll get right to the introductions. Our moderator for this discussion is Nate Nordstrom of New Spin Bicycle Shop. And then our panelists are Scott Larson, Dan Meems, and Ashley Struckman. Scott Larson's a father of 3, and he's been biking with his kids since his oldest was 3 years old. Dan Meems is also a father of 3, and he's been bike commuting for 13 years now. And he says that as soon as his daughter could sit upright, they had her in a handlebar mounted seat. And then Ashley Struckman, mother of 4, has been hauling her kids around via bike for 13 years. She's also Rochester's new Safe Routes to School coordinator. And that's a program aimed at promoting walking and bicycling to school and improving traffic safety around school areas through education, encouragement, enforcement, and engineering improvements. Nate, are you ready I'll hand it over to you.
Oh, barely. I was still muted. There we are. Hey, everyone. I guess it's afternoon now, so good afternoon. Well, I've honestly never moderated an event, so hopefully this goes well. It's our crash course here. It can't be too hard. We're just talking about bikes and stuff that we all like. So my first question for the panelists is, I guess, tell me about your first bike and what was your experience with that? Kind of some of your early memories. So let's start with Scott.
Okay. First bike was as a real kid, small kid, 5-year-old, jumping, knocking the wind out of myself off of, trying to jump off of dirt piles. Did a whole bunch of stuff. I took a bike to college, biked all over campus, and had a continuing relationship with bikes. Took one to I used to live in Washington, D.C., would commute from about 4 miles downtown, but most of the time I would take the train there. But yeah, I've always had a continuing relationship, and so biking with kids was getting at first a really junky little trailer. It's been an accumulation of different things to enable taking kids along. It just doesn't work on an old 10-speed.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
Alone, I should say.
Let's jump to Ashley.
So my first bike memory also was when I was 5, getting a bike for my birthday. And more recently, I've gotten an Urban Arrow, and I really enjoy taking my kids and having that experience. I think the best part about it is all the memories I can make just taking it everywhere in Minnesota that we go, and it's so fun just to see places from a different perspective. So, yeah.
Cool. And Dan?
I had a single speed black Schwinn, and my earliest memory was my dad running behind me, holding the seat and pushing me to get me going. So that's kind of my earliest memory. And then we, getting to a top of a hill, and he let go, and I stopped at the bottom, I think. So yeah, but yeah, now we pedal around in a bunch bike with so it's extra fun.
Oh, cool. I've probably seen you. I've seen someone riding a bunch bike. There's not very many of them around.
Yeah. Well, that's probably us.
Was it near Soldiers Field by chance? Do you live in that region?
Yeah.
Yep. I've seen you. You didn't know it was me.
Yeah. Well, give us a ring next time.
I should. Cool. Does everybody, all three of you, live in the Rochester area? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. So, well, getting a call. I should probably mute my phone. The trails in Rochester are really good, and that's one of the things that I discovered as being from Omaha, Nebraska originally. And there's some good trails there too, but I've been really impressed with just the overall trail system. There's maybe some things that could be improved here and there, but talk about your favorite trails in Rochester, and then we'll get to kind of like tips of riding with kids. Let's start with Dan this time.
I think our favorite trail is probably two. We like that the North Zumbro Trail that kind of goes by the Civic Center and Library, and then we'll take that out to Quarry Hill. So that's probably our favorite trail, and the kids can usually make it at least one way. So it's about a 3-mile ride out there from our house. The other one is the kind of the South Broadway Trail, and it's really just the sidewalk along South Broadway, but that's how we go to the farmers market. So those are our two most frequented trails.
Cool. Let's do Scott.
I think by proximity, we end up doing the Cascade Lakes trails. And we used to live in Rochester before those existed. So we watched the development. We remembered when the bike bridge over 14 was just sitting on the shoulder. And so we've seen that become transformed into something cool. And I haven't seen the plans to know what it will become. And then the other favorite one is either spring or fall, going down to Mailwood Dam by the Hy-Vee and the Tesla charger, and just zigzagging down there through the curvy section. All the kids like to do that.
Yeah, cool. And we just had a question come in quick. It says, how safe is it getting Dan's family to the farmers market? Any tips on that? And then we'll jump over to Ashley.
Oh, what? Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
How safe is it? How safe do you feel getting to the farmers market? Or is there any things that you figured out that help you get there more safely with a giant bike?
Well, we're on trails the whole way. And so we have to, the tricky parts, we have to cross up there at Crossroads, cross Broadway. So those are the two big street crossings. And really, the parking lot at the farmers market is probably the most dangerous part that we need to negotiate. So a lot of times we'll just hop up on the sidewalk there at the parking lot rather than try and go on the street in the fairgrounds there. We stay on the sidewalk and either just get off and walk or take it slow. And when we have the kids on the bikes, we always are on the sidewalk. So just kind of some of that flexibility. If I'm by myself, I'd be on the road as a matter of principle, but we'll get on the sidewalk and just walk or kind of take it easy. So yeah, factor in an extra 5 or 10 minutes, but it's Saturday morning and we're not usually in a rush.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Ashley, favorite trails.
Yeah, we have two that we kind of frequent, and it's the trail, I believe it's 55th Street. It's kind of a newer area over there, and we go towards Costco. So we kind of ride the trails all the way down that road. And then another one is the Corey Hill area, and we go from over that side of town all the way to the farmer's market. And we really enjoy those two trails.
Sweet. Well, let's talk about tips for riding with kids. So maybe if each of you just have like 2 or 3 things maybe that you've maybe learned, maybe the hard way, or maybe not, that you maybe saw from someone else, like what happens if they get tired and they don't want to bike anymore, or you've got a little kid that, you know, I've got little kids, so I'm just thinking, we were biking the other day and had a diaper incident that we had no solution to, so we made it work. But these are all things, right? And so you just gotta like plan ahead a little bit. Let's start with Ashley on this one. Tips for riding with kids or just as a family.
Yeah, so we live about 3 miles out of town, and we live on a really busy road, like Broadway, going out of town. And so we have to ride on the side of the road, and I wasn't comfortable with my young kids riding their bikes on that road. And so in order for me to get their bikes into town, I had to somehow figure out how to strap them to my bike and bring them with us, and also have enough room for all of their gear and them. So it's been a learning process for me, and I finally think I've figured out how to do it. I have just invested in a Follow Me, and so it hooks onto the rear wheel of my Urban Arrow, and then their bike front wheel is kind of bracketed into this Follow Me. And once we get to the trails, I can just take their bike off and they can ride. And then I've also figured out how to get the second bike to come with us, because I have 2 little ones and they both always want to ride. So we've got Velcro straps that I anchored to the right side of my bike, and then I just strap the other bike on that side, and it's really worked out awesome. So I think figuring out how to bring bikes or attach them to your bike that you have in order for your, new riders, so they can practice on safe roads, and when they get tired, so you can carry it. So yeah.
Is there anything in particular that you use to strap bikes?
Yeah, just they're like these Velcro. I can't think of what they're called, but they're Velcro, and they have like a hook on the end, or like a carabiner hook. And so I use 2 of those. One is attached to my bike, and I just leave it on there, and then the other one I strap onto the bike and then clip it onto the hooks that are on my bike.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's great. All right, let's jump to Scott again. Tips for riding with kids.
So I've had experience with 1 kid, because 1 is born first, and then 2 kids, and then 3, and then also having to deal with how old the kids are. So it really depends on your situation. I mean, that it evolves, and you try to solve problems as the kids get older. And what you had as a solution at one time, of course, you don't use it down the road. So the big principles for me that I think I wish I would have started out with is keeping low center of gravity, because I used to have a long tail, a surly big dummy, and the kids were on the back of a deck that was above a 26-inch tire, and they had a nice framework around them made by Extra Cycle. Nice pad. I had a seat mounted in the back, but when they decided to have a party, it wiggled like crazy. And I'm a pretty big guy, and I could control it, but it would get to a point where I felt it was dangerous. So keeping everything low center of gravity, like this bike, the kids are way down where the low blue frame is. They can have as much of a party as they want, and I can get 3 kids in there, and it really, I can feel it, but it doesn't affect my riding. The other one is electric drive. I mean, it made it so much more easy for me to get up the hill where we live. And then I guess I had three. I can't remember what the third one was, but probably like lashing points and being able to just carry as much stuff as you think you need. We call this the tow truck. If we go out for any kind of bike ride, we inevitably take the tow truck because somebody might need a help. Somebody might need extra junk. And there's always that last kid who says, I want to bring my giant Frisbee to wherever. And I can say, no problem, I'll throw it on. I can put so much stuff on this bike. So if you think about it, the cargo that goes beyond kids, I think that's pretty important. Endless diaper supply, no problem.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. The center of gravity thing is definitely a thing my wife and I learned too. Our first cargo bikes had, I think they were 26-inch wheels too. And they were fun, but they weren't, especially my wife kind of struggled, and we actually had twice, I think, where it tipped over. And that's not a fun experience at all. So the ones that we ride now are actually a Turn GSD, and they have 20-inch wheels. So it's the same kind of design, but it is much lower, and it does feel significantly more balanced. And if you can deal with just the size of the bike, like the bucket bike like you've got, Scott, is definitely the most balanced. It's simple physics. The lower you can get the weight, the better off you're going to be.
A question for you, Nate. On your GSD, do you feel like your body height is just as high as on a bike that has bigger wheels?
Yes.
So that you have some leverage over the kids?
Yeah, you do, because it's a little weird when you first see it. If you're used to a normal looking bike that has a double seat post, you can sit way up. It'll actually work with a rider that's 6'4", and it rides just like a regular bike, but the deck itself is probably, a good 4 or 5 inches lower than the one you had before. Let's see, we got a couple questions coming here, which is great. I'll get to some of these here too. But let's jump over to Dan here quick, if you had any tips for riding as a family or with kids.
Yeah. Not to, I think we treat our bike, like a car. So we just let stuff, there's always a supply of diapers in there. There are Band-Aids, snacks. We just have like stuff that just lives in the bike. So if you're okay with that, just kind of having it always stocked. So it's not a process, like a 20-minute kind of process to get everything packed first. So kind of keeping those staples, wipes, diapers, hand sanitizer, masks, snacks. There's always some toys in there, water bottles. And yeah, the second thing is it is really, as the kids have taken to riding their own bikes around, Bo is 3 and Jane is 5. So I guess I just want to foot stomp that, being able to connect your bike, or haul their bikes around when they get tired, because that's what kind of keeps it fun for them. It's not, they're not languishing, and you're having fun too, because it is no fun to have a 3 and 5-year-old kind of belly aching down the trail. That's not fun for anyone, especially for them. So being able to get everyone back in the bike, it really does keep it fun for the whole family.
Yeah. Cool. Well, and like I say, we got a couple questions that are coming, which is great. I got one more that's related, and then we'll jump to a few questions. And that is actually something Scott touched on, is how has biking as a family changed as your kids got older, and what have you had to adapt to?
So when I first started out biking, my son was at Rochester Montessori School, and I started out taking our minivan out, and where I live, it's close to Falwell School and close to St. Mary's. So I jumped down to Cascade Lake Trails, and then I go west until Circle Drive Road, County 22. Then I have to cross that road where that new light was put in. And then I would stay on the road going up 3rd, I think it is. And it's a fairly wide road. And if I felt like it was dangerous, then I would jump onto the sidewalk for short segments of that. And I just felt very confident until the very end when you approach Rochester Montessori School. I was aware of those trails because we'd lived in that area. And so that's what got me going into bikes. I really thought about it a long time. I tried to do with a trailer. The things I didn't like about the trailers, you have 3 wheel tracks. You've got your bike, and then you've got 2 on the sides of the trail. And I was kind of sensitive, trying to avoid bumps for my son. You know, you probably don't need to be too sensitive about it. But that led to me desiring one bike that could haul kids. So I'd only, just like a normal bike, you just choose one path, and that's the least bumpy. I ended up getting that Surly Big Dummy and riding. That was an easy one to, with only one kid, I could still lash his bike and we could go for a ride together. And if he got tired, I could put Leaf in the back and put his bike on the side. It was too much to have 2 bikes on the side and 2 kids all on the back of a long tail. So by the time we had 2 kids and they were both biking, it was not going to work very well. That's as opposed to this one, which I can easily put 2 bikes and 2 kids on the inside, and we've even fit a dog at the same time doing that. So I mean, it changes the game when you have something like this. As it's changed, the lash point, even having to lash a bike to the side, it goes away when the kids are strong enough, as long as you're not doing too long of a ride. I think my current 8-year-old probably stopped doing that when he was about 6 or 7, but my current 5-year-old always appreciates a ride. So I'm at 12, 8, and 5. And so we've kind of graduated beyond that point. I can ask the kids, I can push the kids a little bit, say, oh, we're so close to home, just keep on going. So
that works for a couple of miles, but
yeah, no, we had it
whatever.
bad. We had it bad for a while where we had my wife did not want me to put our youngest son, who, when he was born, we started riding with him about 6 weeks old, very slowly in a infant sling in a trailer. And I put that behind our big dummy. So it was a huge, monstrous thing to haul, and there was no electric assist. And frankly, we just didn't go very far because it was so painful to ride that thing. And then we graduated to get rid of the infant sling, put both kids in the back. You know, we've just gone through different transitions. It depends on what equipment you've got and what problems you encounter. And it's like parenting in general. There's always something new that's around the corner, and you may not be aware of it yet, but you'll figure it out. It'll happen.
Yep. You'll figure it out. That's pretty much how it goes. Ashley or Dan, do you have any other comments on that? Is things that you've noticed that you've adapted to or to change with time?
I think it's pretty similar to Scott's. You just keep changing and adapting. When I first started out, I didn't have an e-assist, just the pull behind trailer on my regular old bike. And as the kids got to approach about the 20-pound mark each, which was 40 pounds in the trailer, I found that I was not enjoying it and I didn't want to go anywhere. So then I attached the trailer to my boyfriend's e-bike, and that was awesome. Like, I went all the way to Costco, which is 6 miles from here, and loaded it all up and came back, and then the battery died right before I got home. And so then I was like, this is not going to work. It's too heavy for that bike. So then I started researching, and we got the cargo bike because I was like, I want to use this for groceries, so as it went, we just adapted and changed and progressed as we went along. So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else you'd add, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, as the kids have gotten bigger, we were intentional about the bikes that we bought for them. And yeah, I don't think we're super extravagant people, but I would assume, like a lot of kind of bike folks, we're okay with a little bit of extra money into the bikes. So I do think, you know, being willing to kind of invest in that for your family, if that's something that you're going to be doing all the time, I think it's really worth it. And I mean, you know, when my wife and I were looking at both Jane and Bo's first two-wheelers, Jane has a Guardian and Bo has a Womb, and they're both designed for kids. So they have a low center of gravity, kind of a relaxed geometry, and their gearing is, they're both single speeds with freewheels. So that's I guess that whatever you do, even if you track down a freewheel for an existing frame, it was really easy for them to learn on a two-wheeler with a freewheel. It was a matter of an afternoon. So they had been on the balance bikes, and having that freewheel they just really hopped right on, because the coaster brake really it's tricky if you've never done it before. So I guess that's kind of the thing with as the kids have graduated to their own bikes at that kind of the preschool, kindergarten. I don't know if we're going to be shelling out, you know, thousands of dollars for a bike for a 12-year-old, but we'll see. I mean, but I think it is important to really think about the equipment and be intentional about it for their sake.
Yeah, I have noticed that. I mean, one of the challenges with kids and just in general is they're always outgrowing stuff, everything. So you're like, well, I'd kind of like to get you a nicer bike, but well, and I'm a bike shop owner now, so it's kind of cheating. My kids are like, Dad, I want this bike. I want this bike. I'm like, that's not ours. We're selling them. But I did recently get my oldest son, who's 8, a giant mountain bike, and he loves it. And I have noticed that he's more willing to ride, and he's actually safer just because it's just a better setup. So if we go and do a little bit of mountain biking, instead of the bike he was on before was not equipped for that, but now he's got actual gears and it can take the bumps. And so he actually had an accident where we were going down a hill and he got too much speed and his bike is bouncing all over because he didn't have ground contact because the bike couldn't take it. Bouncing all over and he flew off the bike. Thankfully he was okay, but he was very scared and it knocked the wind out of him. So that was, the right equipment is important. Sometimes you just got to be a little bit creative, or sometimes of course the kids always don't really want the hand-me-down from their brother or sister, but sometimes that's the best thing to do. Cool. Let's I'm seeing some great questions come in here as well. Let's hop back to a couple more questions. Yeah, Steve is saying too, when our kids were growing up, there didn't seem to be good quality bikes available in kid sizes. Is that still an issue? Is there good availability now for small, reasonably weight multi-gear bikes? I would say yes, there definitely are good kid bike options now. And the reason I know that is because I'm buying them and selling them at the shop. But and my experience is limited because I'm only 33, but in my lifetime's experience and in my experience with kids, there seems to be a good number of good bikes. So, I mean, certainly we've got some that you could check out at New Spin. And I'm sure some other places have some as well. I will tell you though, shortages are very real. So, like next spring, we'll have hundreds of bikes coming in, including a bunch of good kids bikes. The mountain bike I got for my son was literally the only one of that kind of bike I'm going to be getting this year. So that's the reality of our current shortage situation. All right, jump back to another question here. What are your thoughts on child seats on the handlebars, safe or unsafe? Paul had a question about that. I'll share my 2 cents, I guess, quick, and then see what you all think. We had for a little while something called a We Ride that you can put in between the front handlebars and the seat. And so the kid actually sat like kind of right between my arms. We liked that quite a bit. It really kind of scratched up my steering post on my bike, unfortunately, but that was a lot of fun. Their weight was up a little bit higher. I guess my answer would be it depends. That would be my 2 cents. It depends on how old the kid is, if you've got them strapped in properly. I would rather have them either on a long tail cargo bike with a low center of gravity like a GSD, or in a bucket bike like Scott and Ashley have. And I guess quick comment on that. One of the reasons why my wife and I prefer a GSD over a bucket bike is because we can actually put our GSDs, fold down the handlebars, and we can put them in the van and take them camping more easily so than a bucket bike. The bucket bikes are awesome, but they're just so huge. So that's one of the things that we appreciate about that, is the GSD is pretty much regular bike size. And we like to go camping and we like to go places, so we take it with us all over the place. Let's see, any other comments from the 3 of you on kid seats that are maybe like on the handlebars or up higher somewhere in there that's maybe unique?
I considered that briefly when we got starting. My wife is an orthopedic surgeon, and so she's enabled buying stuff, and she's also limited it because she has her own opinions about it. And that was a definite no from her perspective, not because she has any experience. And I kind of doubt if she's actually seen specific injuries from them, but it's just the idea.
It's easy to imagine. Yeah.
It's easy to imagine bad things happening.
This might not end well.
Yeah. So that was something I considered, but it seemed better to put them behind me. It just felt like ultimately they are cargo. You have to drive the bike and be safe riding the bike. And if they have a problem, you pull over and take care of that.
Yeah.
This kind of solves one problem that's related to that. If you have children in a trailer, that's the worst. You can't hear anything what they're doing.
Yeah.
I remember my oldest he was singing the ABC song, and I thought, wow, I think that's the ABC song. And I thought, that's awesome. But I couldn't hear any questions. And even the big dummy, if you were traveling at any, 12 miles an hour or above, it's really hard to hear your kids. And that it becomes a problem because they're trying to have a conversation. Having your kids in the front totally solves that. You just, tip your head slightly and you can hear because the sound, whatever the acoustics are of that.
Right. Yeah. Sound tends to travel when you're moving like back, but not really forward much.
Exactly. Yeah. And it seems like there are much better solutions to the handlebar problem than a handlebar bike. I think they're designed for pretty little kids too. So I don't know. If you think about what happens when something bad, your weight's going forward. It's like riding with an airbag in the front seat in a car. Bad things happen really fast. So that just an opinion.
Right.
I'm gonna dissent. And we had a Yep, which is front handlebar mounted. And Jane was, as soon as she could sit up. So Jane's our oldest, and she was, I think she must have been 6-7 months old. I mean, she had been sitting up all winter. She was born in August, so this would have been kind of in the spring that we put her in there. And it's a low weight limit, 25 pounds, I think was the weight limit. And we certainly weren't, breaking any land speed records or anything. And it was, it was kind of akin to having them riding around in like the Baby Bjorn or the Tula. I mean, they were right here, and we didn't get that far. She was little, and it was kind of nice to have her in the front there, where I could see what she was doing. And we just got it out again for our youngest, who's 22 months, and I'm sure she would like it on the back of the bike too. But there's something nice about having them right there and being able to talk to them, because even when they are riding back on your rack, you can't hear them like you guys were. The Doppler effect, they're just gone. And Yeah. So, and if we're all out with the other kids on their bikes, it's nice to have Margaret right there in front where I can still kind of talk and she can see her big brother and sister. But I will parenthetically say I've got nothing but love for orthopedic surgeons. I had a bike injury. A couple surgeons have taken a look at it, so I know they do see bike injuries. But yeah, it was cozy, and I don't know if it's like the cute factor or what, but it was nice to have them sitting there. But they are limited because like our son, he was too big for it by the time he was sitting up. So if they're really limiting, but for one kid, they're fun for getting, to the park and back.
A question for you, Dan, is your kickstand when you're loading your child in there? I've had issues where if you don't think about it and get it right, the bike can tip over. And my solution was a center kickstand so that the bike is always upright. Did you think about that?
We bought our bunch bike before we invested in one of the center stands. Yeah, but that was definitely the next purchase if we, but with how big Bo got and how quickly he got big, we went right for the cargo bike.
Yeah, I would agree with the center kickstand thing. The GSDs come with that standard, but whatever you do, like you need to think about loading, unloading, because it is a matter of time before one of the kids just like gets all excited, tries to hop in fast and wrenches on it, and it either falls over or it can take it because it's properly supported.
Yeah, we've had, yes.
Our little 1-year-old gets so excited when she sees one of our bikes now. If we just open the garage, she'll waddle over and hop up in the seat and start strapping herself in, even if we're not going anywhere. So it's been funny, but like you don't want her to just be like climbing up there and she doesn't know that the thing could fall over. So just being properly secured at all times is really important. Anything you want to say on that, Ashley?
No, I've never tried the seat on the front, so I don't really have much experience with that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, my other overall comment is just whatever setup you've got, you do definitely need to think about what if things go wrong? What if I crash, or what if something comes up unexpected on the trail or whatever? What is my plan for that? It is kind of like driving a car in some ways. You kind of got to think about being defensive a little bit and prepared so that if you get into a tough situation, what are you going to do and how are you going to handle the bike, and just be prepared for that so that the kids aren't flying off or whatever is happening that might not be good. Let's see, we had a couple other questions. Question about trailers. Matt says, I'm hearing trailers are a good gateway to cargo bikes. Anyone have experience with trailers? I had a bike trailer a while ago, like a Burley. And I guess my 2 cents on it would be that it was nice to be able to have it when you wanted it and take it off when you don't. That was probably the biggest plus. But like Scott said, you couldn't really hear much of anything because they're down there, and then you've got a wind cover, or they're getting dirt right off your tire into their face if the cover's not on. And for whatever reason, our kids seem to just like be constantly fighting when they were smashed shoulder to shoulder.
I can kind of add to that.
Yeah.
So I started off with the trailer, and like others have said, it's hard to hear when they're behind you. And if I would have to do it again, I would nix the trailer, not even go that route, and just get a front load cargo bike. You can, fit a car seat in, at least the Urban Arrow. I know you can, there's an adapter and you can put a car seat right in there, and it kind of like bounces or has like a shock on it. So the baby isn't going to be like bounced around like it would be in a trailer. And as they get bigger, you move them around in different spots and you can see them and you just know, like, it just feels safer. And I do like the trailer though, especially the way my sister has her set up. She has a turn GSD, and when she wants to get groceries, she'll just attach it to the turn and the kids will still be on the bike with her. And then she throws all the groceries into her bike trailer. So I feel like the bike trailer has a place, but it's not really for kids, especially multiple or as they get bigger.
Yeah.
We had a trailer. Very first was just a really old junky burly that we got off of Craigslist or somewhere, and it felt really dangerous, and it was fun. We were able to get the kids along. We upgraded pretty quickly to a chariot kind with 2 seat belts. You could put 1 kid in the middle or 2 in there. And I'll say this, that was the best weather protection that they would ever have. There's no weather protection on this, and I don't really care. They can get wet if it happens to be out. But that also means I don't try to push them too hard. We'll take the car if it's push comes to shove. I think there's a principle, like if you've got a kid, you're thinking about biking, investing more at the beginning ultimately is probably a better deal. Like the electric drive is a big one. If you have any way of getting electric drive and being able to support kids as you're biking, it really it's such a joy, and it's useful. Like sometimes when we're biking as a family now, and I'm worried about my 5-year-old going too far ahead and getting to an intersection, I can accelerate on this thing very quickly and catch up with him, without worrying too much about not having the strength with a big bike like this, or if you had a bunch of junk on it. So that's a big one. And then just all these the world of cargo bikes has really exploded, and there's all sorts of new options that just didn't exist at all. And the cargo trail, the burly kind of trailer, is really, I think it's been improved upon. There are better things out there. However, you're talking about a whole new bike instead of keeping your old bike and getting a new one. So it's a scary proposition. And I just think that if you do invest, you probably won't regret it, because they're awesome bikes that are being made. I've never tried the new GSD kinds, and they have different types of front loadings. I've tried probably about four of them, and they're all very different feelings to them. And they're significant investment, but I love just using this as my daily driver bike. I get groceries, I haul firewood with it, I can haul anything, it seems. So it's kind of like having a pickup truck in the bike world, and it will kind of blow your mind the ways in which it's useful and what it's capable of doing. So that would be my opinion about trailers, is if you could see your way through, your kids are going to be young for quite a long time, and having the trail, the tow truck support vehicle of one kind or another, it'll seem pretty useful as your kids get older.
Yeah, we picked up our Christmas tree one year, just from the Hy-Vee lot, the 2 kids and I. So it wasn't a huge tree, but they were in there, and we strapped the tree on and pedaled home with it. So it is versatile.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, the other thing I'd say on trailers is, if like Scott said, you're talking about a whole new bike if you're talking about a cargo. So if your goals really are just kind of occasional use, maybe it's grandma, grandpa kind of thing or something, or you really aren't in a position to get a whole new bike, a trailer can be a good option. But all things considered, I would agree, if you're thinking about like long-term, big picture over the years, what are you going to enjoy more? I think absolutely a cargo bike of some kind. All right, let's see, looking at a couple more questions here. Steve sharing how he attached kids' seats to his bike in different ways and realizing now that was probably a bad idea, but they survived, hopefully. So 2 cents on that. So another question here was, can I see some pictures? Well, yeah, so I could show a couple pictures. Some of our, like our 1-year-old, she's happy with her helmet on until she's not. and then she's like losing it because her helmet's on and it's in her way and this annoying strap. So sometimes, honestly, if we're going really slow or we're stopped, I've got a picture I'll show here in a second. We try to just stay on trails too, because I'd rather not have to deal with cars on the road, at least as much as possible when I've got my kids on the back. But let's see, can I have a few photos of setups can I have a few photos of setups I've had? If I could share. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Ashley, if you've got a link or something you want to share. I was going to share one here too. Let's see if I can hit the share button. And I see it's about 12:45. So we'll do more questions here in a sec. And that is the wrong screen. How do I do this properly? There we go. All right, can everybody see that? So this is us at the Chick-fil-A drive-through, which was hilarious and lots of fun. You know, you get all kinds of comments and people like, oh, that looks so much fun. And, you know, they're sitting there in their car idling and you're just having a good time. So as you can see, Joelle, our youngest, we took her helmet off at that point. We're sitting here waiting and she was done with that. So I think they put us in their, like our receipt said like something about like yellow machine or something, because they like apparently the employees type up a description of the vehicle and they weren't quite sure what to do. So that was kind of fun. And I was going to show, we recently went to the IBM park and we brought with our toaster and made sandwiches. Like the fact that you can do stuff like that with a cargo bike is so much fun. You just load it on, you know, like Scott was saying, there's really no limit to the different things you can do or places you can go with a bike like that. I was going to show 2 or 3 more pictures here. There's a couple more GSD ones. There's kind of a little animation just showing we've gone fishing before with our boys. We just loaded up the tackle boxes, fishing poles, everything, just went over to Corey Hill. Of course, the fishing at Corey Hill is not that great, but they were having a great time. Anyway, so some of the HSDs, there's folding bikes. Here's an Urban Arrow to give you kind of an example of that concept. And yeah, like Scott said, there's a lot of different kinds of this kind of bike as well. There's actually also, like this is one of their cargo XL versions made for the photo at the bottom there, made for businesses. And we actually sold one of those, the XL version. It's like a 9-foot long bike to Minneapolis food delivery business. That was pretty cool. That was last month, I believe. There's even tricycles, there's even tandem tricycles for people with maybe adaptive needs or kids bike. So, and did anybody else have other photos they wanted to see that gives you at least like some ideas? There's a lot of stuff out there on the market, and a lot of it is new within the last 5-ish years. Things are starting to get really good, and the electric assist stuff has really transformed the opportunities with this too, because if you've got, you know, yourself plus 150, 200 pounds of kids and gear, it becomes very difficult if you don't have that electric assist. But with the assist, it's a whole lot of fun. So that was a game changer. And that's actually why we opened New Spin, is because my wife and I's experience with cargo bikes kind of changed our view on what we could do with a bike.
I'll chime in on that. When I was interested in getting a cargo bike before I bought the big dummy, I'm from Seattle area originally, and we went to a cargo bike specific, I went to a cargo bike specific bike shop just to try these out. So I rode a Bullet like this, the Larry versus Harry Bullet, and it had a hub motor in it, but it was electrified. And I was there with another guy who happened to be from Minnesota, and we were looking at each other saying, I wonder what it feels like with a load in it. So each of us served as the cargo for the other. So we were in Seattle on steep hills with a hub motor, and we were able to hold up with traffic. It was insane to have that feeling of holding, I'm 200 pounds and he was probably 200 pounds, and we were really pushing the limits of that bike. And it was a mind-blowing thing, but I ended up getting a big dummy even after that, because I was scared of spending too much money. I mean, it came down to the fear of putting too much money into a bike. And looking back on it, that was a dumb decision. The other thing that scared me was the steering linkage, and thinking, well, how in the world is that supposed to happen? A long tail totally makes sense. It's a bunch of bike that's behind you and you can ignore it. It feels pretty much like a normal bike until you try to pop a wheelie in one. This one has this crazy steering linkage, and it scared me. The more I thought about it, the more I thought, that can't be right. How do you bunny hop? How do you avoid obstacles? That was stupid.
You don't bunny hop, but all the rest works.
I try. It works awesome. I mean, everything about it. It's more like, instead of being in a little boat that's a zippy little sport boat, this is like steering a long, aircraft carrier. You're intentional about it. You have these long sweeping turns, and yeah, you get into back and fill situations if you're trying to maneuver in your garage, or and there's a backdrop to wanting a bike like this. I don't live in a walk-up apartment. I have a third stall in my garage. There's all sorts of things that made me consider this, but the steering was one that should not have scared me in the first place. And cheaping out without getting the electrical assist at the beginning, that was also a dumb idea.
Yeah, you'll regret
really
that.
should have gone back that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have no regret if you throw some money at an electric anything. It's just this, it transforms a bike into, it makes you feel stronger than you are. You know that you're riding a bike, not a motorcycle, and you're doing stupid things like carrying tons and tons of weight, and yet you feel like, hey, I'm doing this. This is working. It doesn't feel crazy, dangerous. It's a wonderful thing to get into, and the more of it it enables you to get a habit going of not taking the car to Costco. This will pack an entire shopping cart at Costco. The bags expand. It becomes
easily
really giant, and no problem getting up the steepest hill. We live on a pretty good grade on Hill Place, and it's amazing what it will do. You do end up using your gears a lot, so you have to understand, don't use the motor entirely. Get down to first gear and just take your time, but it would be impossible to do that otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley, do you have a few photos you want to share?
I do. I have them ready here. Let me see if I can figure this out. Second.
All right, should be at the bottom there.
Okay. So.
See that button?
Yeah. Okay.
Then you should just have to pick a screen.
Okay, so it's not letting me, something with my privacy settings are not letting me. I'm not sure.
Or if you can just email me a link or email me a couple photos, I'll be able to get it here pretty quick, and I can pull it up while we answer another question or two.
Okay, sounds good.
Just Nate at newspinshop.com.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, sweet. Let's see. Oh, and there's another one. Sweet.
I don't know if you are you seeing this okay?
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, so here, this is Anna, and it looks like she's pregnant.
Oh, you're muted. There we go.
Okay. So yeah, that's what ours looks like.
Cool. All right, let's see, what other questions do we have that, I guess if anybody has a question that you're just dying to ask, if you could just post it as a fresh comment, because I may have lost it here in the thread. And then I'm taking a look at my other questions that I had here.
Nate, well, get your mind together. I'll try to share one of mine. This is.
Go ahead.
This is the downward view of mountain biking with 2 kids. He was 3 at the time. Well, actually my 3-year-old is in front, and then my then 6-year-old was here. This is the 6-year-old's mountain bike, and they're reading and riding. My electric assist is right here, and that is a dirt trail at Cuyuna. I mean, it was a pretty epic thing. And that was a day where, talk about bringing stupid things. We had a full-size jar of strawberry jam made out of glass. And we didn't have a smaller container. So we thought, well, just bring it along. We had those bags, everything packed. So that's the downward view of what it's like. That does work mountain biking, by the way, but you just try to avoid rocks and roots. It's a little ugly if you get too bouncy.
Yeah, that view looks bonkers, but that's a lot of fun. And the kids are always up for some sort of crazy adventure like that. So
the kids loved it, and we had the books along, and they just, once they're too tired, they shift gears. They want to do something else. But we were probably 3 miles away from our campsite at this picture. By the way, to get this thing up there, I have a cargo trailer. So I just loaded all the bikes into the cargo trailer and hauled it that way.
yeah, we would be probably, well, I did buy a trailer, and I also bought a Ford Transit van, but that relates to our New Spin business. So if you see a green van driving around with New Spin, it's probably me driving. So you know who to call or email to complain if something's wrong about my driving. But so we're kind of cheating, but that's basically what we use now to get all of our bikes someplace, because we love them so much, and our kids have, their kids' bikes. Just kind of become a part of where we, if we go on a camping trip or something, it's pretty much expected we're going to bring our bikes if at all possible. And let's see if I've got those photos. Doesn't look like I have them yet. Did you send that, Ashley?
Yeah. So was it Nate at Newspin?
Sorry, Nate at newspinshop.com.
Oh, okay. I'll try again.
Perfect. All right. And we've got 4 more minutes. Let's see if we had any other. Pictures, current. Favorite compliment. How about that one? Anybody have comment? I'm sure we all get questions when you ride one of these things. You get a lot of people saying, "What is that? Where'd you buy it or where'd you rent it?" We get that all the time. What kind of questions do you guys get, or compliments? Go ahead, Dan.
People always ask me if I built mine. And I always have to say no. It sounds like Scott can probably say yes to at least one of his setups. But yeah, that really is the question that I get the most, is if I built it. And I very readily say, nah, no way.
Yeah.
But no one ever asks my wife if she built it, though, which,
Yeah.
Go on about. Yeah.
To answer that question, I recycled a bunch of material that was in the front. So different bike parts, the bags are from the Surly Big Dummy, and I took an old road sign and I buzzed off the paint off of it, and I bent it, and I did a whole bunch of work. So it is a custom one-off thing. And I've never seen anybody take the front end of one of these, make a box where the sides of it are bags, so that you don't lose any of that capacity. It's a problem with the longtails is that you've got 2 kids and their legs are going down, and then those bags, how do you fit the stuff around them? Probably the best comment was a mountain biker who had probably just finished doing some big jumps. He saw me finish a trail at Cuyuna, and he said, "That is insane." And I had a little puppy in there and 1 kid at the time. And so he asked me if I could take a picture of, he asked if he could take a picture of us, and I said yes.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Ashley, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing your photos come through. Nate at newspinshop.com.
Yeah, it said they went through, so I don't know.
All right.
Ashley's just building the suspense, because now everyone's just gonna have to see her bike in person.
Right, yeah, you just have to show up. Right.
That's right. You'll be there tonight, right, Ashley?
Yes, I will be there tonight.
So I guess maybe that's the plan is everybody needs to go show up. I'd be there, but my son has football practice tonight and I'm a assistant coach, so flag football. So yeah, otherwise we would be there, but all right, we got what, 1 or 2 minutes left, 1 minute, I guess. And I've seen a couple people had to drop off. Anything else, Matt, Rochelle, anybody? What did we miss here?
I just want to say, we look forward to seeing everybody at the group ride tonight at Thesis. It's at 6. We'll be handing out 50 pint vouchers and Pascal's Pizza. Don't want to miss out on that. And then also looking forward to seeing everybody at Thursday's webinar. The topic is Advancing Transportation Equity with Abdul, sorry. And thank you to all our generous sponsors that help make these events possible, and see y'all tonight at 6 p.m.
And I'll add one more quick shout out. Check out on the 24th and 25th of this month, we will have the grand opening for New Spin. It's been a long time coming. We had to wait 4 months for city permit paperwork to be finished, which was just killing me because all this weather's going by and I'm just like, can we please just open the door? So we are open on Fridays in the meantime, but it's kind of a half construction zone. We've got bikes and stuff, but by the 24th, 25th, we should be looking good. So stop on over. Would love to say hi in person. Thank you to panelists. It's awesome to see photos and hear stories. And now we know what bikes to look for and wave when we see you around town.
Yeah, thanks. I can stay on if anybody had specific questions too, but however this works.
Yeah, I'm good with whatever too. It's 1 o'clock on the dot. So